Hello and welcome to another episode of the Romantasy Readers podcast. I'm Allie and I am joined with my fantastic co-host, Nicole. How are you doing today, Nicole?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to getting into some more Onyx Storm theories with you guys today. So
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
yeah. So we're keeping up our kind of new thing that we're trying, which is more mini episodes. So rather than giving you a 2-hour episode on every possible topic, which is probably a lot to try and listen to and get through. We're doing one topic at a time, smaller, shorter episodes. So you'll have to let us know if you like this new format. We're just, we like to try new
Or
things.
if you like to just be with us for 2 hours and just hear our incessant rambling, which we also love to do. And
Yeah, if you're like, no, please bring back the 2-hour episodes. I need my 2 hours every couple of weeks with Ali and Nicole. Let us know that as well. We can do it. Trust, obviously, you know that we can do
really
it.
not a struggle. It's really not a
Yeah,
struggle for us
it's
at
actually
all.
harder to do these smaller episodes, I feel.
I know,
'Cause
exactly,
we just
exactly.
like
To keep it
love
really on
tangents.
track when
Yeah.
we're prone to going sideways, for sure.
Yes. But before we get too much into that, I wanna ask you, what are you reading this week? Because I think you've been doing a lot of reading lately. I have not been reading as much,
I
but you're
have. You know what? I almost enjoy this time. I feel like when there's that massive book release, you have all this pressure to read that book,
yeah.
I don't know, it creates a frenzy. And then you have the full depression afterwards. You kind of end and you're just staring at a wall going, what now? I was waiting for that. What do I do now? But then you
Yeah.
settle down and you get into some new great books. I am doing a dual read right now, Ali. You'll be so proud of
I'm
me.
so proud of you.
I never
Wow.
do read, but I have one audiobook and I have
That's
my Kindle.
an ebook.
Um
Yeah, that's how I always have an audiobook and an ebook. So
yeah,
I'm
because
I'm
I
really proud of you.
couldn't always take my Kindle everywhere and I was needing to listen and can't listen to this one everywhere either because I definitely need my
Yes.
earpods in. But so I am listening to Deep End by Ali
Okay,
Hazelwood.
okay. Is it good? Is
Fabulous,
it as good as
fabulous.
everyone is saying it is? Because I
I'm
have
gonna hmm?
Is it as good as everyone's saying it is?
It's fabulous. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
of course it is.
she's exploring something. It's still Ali, like it's Ali
Yeah,
with the humor and everything that we love about Ali. But she, in true Ali style, she explores new genres. And this one, she's exploring a new, more kinky kind of genre
okay.
with this one, which is really fun. So probably almost a little bit Lights Out. Probably not as intense as Lights Out, but it'd
Okay.
probably be more of an introduction to the
A
dark,
darker
kinky
yeah.
kind of
Mhm.
romance sort of vibes, but done really, really well. Really love it. Like also just fun and humorous. And as I say, I think did I start it yesterday or the day before? Like I downloaded it and yeah, I'm nearly finished. So I've just drilled
Yeah.
through it so quickly. And then I am reading The Zodiac Academy. So I've had this on my TBR. It's been sitting on my Kindle for ages. I had it
Yeah.
when I was in Europe and I am terrible at reading on holiday, so I didn't even pick it up. And now I finally did. And I have drilled through the first two books. I'm now into the third. It's light. It's like Gossip Girl of the Fae.
That
That's
sounds really
the
good.
best way
That
I
sounds
can describe
exciting.
it. It's got all the Fae aspects, but set in the school kind of situation. And then but then it's so Gossip Girly. There's obviously a fair bit of bullying in it, which I think I'd been told in advance. So I was aware of that, kind of the bully romance. It's light, it's fun, but it's got all the Fae kind of fantasy aspects that I love in a
Yeah.
book. It's got dragons and magic and lots of zodiac stuff. There's lots of like, oh, you're a Pisces, you're a Taurus, you're a Gemini, and I'm like, okay. They've
Okay.
not
That's
once,
exciting though.
not once spoken about Virgos yet, Ali. I'm very upset. Just in
What?
case
I was
I
just
know.
about to ask you. I was like, is the
I know.
Virgo
Just for
character the best
everyone
character?
who doesn't know, Ali and I are both Virgos, and
Obviously.
they have not discussed Virgos once. We are like the poor cousins of, I know, I think we're like the least liked zodiac sign ever.
Except we're also the best because we get shit done and we love very passionately, even though we're hard to get to know at first. We're the best sign. So,
Exactly, exactly. As you can see, we're not all terrible. Some of
yeah,
us are great. Just
yeah,
happen to be born in August. That's okay.
yeah, yeah. I'm a September Virgo, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm a
Um,
31st of August.
I that both of those things are on my TBR. Want to read
Mhm,
them both. The Ali Hazelwood book is probably like my next audiobook. Um,
mhm.
so I'm reading right now, continuing my hockey romance obsession this winter as I continue to like go to hockey games IRL. So now I'm reading The Graham Effect, which I had heard a lot about, but for whatever reason, the description did not sound as good to me because it's college hockey. And I'm not as interested in college. And I had
Yeah.
read a couple of other college hockey romances and didn't love them. But
Mhm.
actually, this is probably one of the better hockey romances I've listened to.
Oh, nice.
It's in college and like it's like a female hockey player and a guy hockey player, which
Mhm.
I also didn't know if I was gonna like, but I really do. And there's like actually more hockey in it. So if you're a actual hockey fan, like I have recently become, then it's good. And so that is the ebook that I'm listening to. And then
Mhm.
that's the audiobook that I'm listening to, words. And
Yeah.
then the ebook that I'm reading is the fourth book in the Imberly Ash series. So Imberly Ash is like
Ooh.
the very
Yes.
first person that we interviewed on this podcast.
Yes.
And she published the fourth and final book in her series, her King Arthur retelling series,
Mhm.
a couple months ago. And I've just struggled to get to it, but I'm about halfway through right now. Did a lot of reading on the plane, and it's really fantastic. I'm loving it.
Oh,
So that's
amazing.
a great series that's now finished if you're interested.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. A lot of people love not to jump into them till they're a finished series. So if you need like and you would almost say a little bit like Pen Cole ish, kind of
Yeah.
like if you're sort of into that, you would possibly be into Emily Ash as well. So
Yeah, I think,
definitely.
like, it's, like, kind of like Throne of Glass, but a little bit spicier, a lot like Pencoal, I would say, but also spicier. You get to it's not you get to the romance, and the spice right away, more like a contemporary romance, at least in
Mhm.
the book 1. And then, like, their relationship kind of develops over time, but then there are these, like, epic it's fantasy, it's like a King Arthur retelling. Really, really, like, love the series, and the FMC is plus size, which I think is super cool and curvy, and yeah, it's this fourth book is like epic proportions, like the world is ending, and as of right now, it seems like the world is going to end and everyone's going to die. So, which I don't want. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen. I fingers crossed, knock
Yeah,
on wood,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. Hopefully, you're gonna get the HEA that we
yeah,
would normally expect from a romantasy book.
yeah.
One actually, I wanted to go back to talk about Deep End and the fact that I'm doing the audiobook, and curious to know if anyone else has done the audiobook and what they think of the dual delivery of this book. I feel like while I'm enjoying it and it's fine, and it's look certainly two like there's a male and a female voice, which is great. I don't know if they're the best voices. Like I feel like
Mm.
sometimes I'm hearing the words, but I'm going, oh, could this have been? I feel like if I'd read it, it might have been even better. I don't know. The main MMC in it is actually from, is it Sweden?
Oh,
I think
interesting.
around there. Anyway, like, yeah, Northern European. And he has this really kind of Northern European kind of Germany accent, which is a bit Arnold Schwarzenegger. And
Oh, that's
probably
interesting. I don't know how I would feel about that.
yeah, and I'm kind of like, was this really the accent that you wanted to do for this? Like, I feel like I wanted like a Russian, especially for a dark romance, like the
Yeah.
the words that are said, but then he kind of says it with that kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger lilt, and you kind of go, oh, does that maybe not quite hitting as well as it could have? So I
As
almost
it
wonder
could.
whether the audiobook is the best choice or if you're actually better off to read it, so that you can give it your own accent
Your
and
own
insert
voice.
the accent that you
Interesting.
love.
Yeah. I feel like when gosh, we're like really on a tangent here, but
Yeah,
classic
yeah, we
us.
are.
I feel like when dual narration works and hits, it's fantastic. Like like the Graham Effect that I'm listening to right now has like the male and the female voice, and like it's working so well. And the audiobook I listened to right before this did not. So it was a female voice actor trying to do a male voice. And that
Oh, I hate that.
I hate it. I hate it. And like I can get over it, like, but I just But so I really prefer when there's like both a male and a female if it's going to be dual
100%.
POV. But sometimes if they don't like have the chemistry, like I've noticed sometimes too, like they'll almost have different interpretations of the other person's character. And
Mhm.
so then like they'll be delivering the lines of their of like the perception of the character in a different way. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but sometimes if the two voice actors don't have chemistry, it can also be off. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I feel like in this one, like the girl is fairly young. Like she is maybe like 20, 21 max.
okay.
And often the voice actors sound like they're minimum in their 30s. Like they
Yeah.
have a very somewhat mature voice. They don't
Yeah.
have that young voice. And so first of all, there's that. You're sort of just like, oh, and then the guy having this very unique accent that probably isn't. I'm pretty sure I saw a stat thing like not so long ago that said that that kind of accent is the German sort of accent is like the least sexy
Always
accent
sexy.
ever.
Yeah.
Like pretty much every other accent, Italian, Russian, like especially when it's like someone that's going to grab you and rough you up kind of thing. Like you want that kind of dark,
Yeah.
sexy kind of
Yeah.
accent. I just know if I had it in my head, the accent would not have been the accent I'm listening to. Maybe that was what
Okay.
it was meant to be, but
Interesting.
I still would have had a very different accent I would have thought of. And maybe Ali didn't think about that when she did it. She was like, oh, it's just like this northern, and she's thinking like Russian or something. And out's come this like, it's like we're in Holland or something. Anyway,
Maybe I'll do it as an ebook instead of an audiobook then. Yeah, because I feel like that might bug me.
yeah. All right. All right.
Anyway, shall we talk about Onyx Storm now?
Yeah, let's talk Onyx Storm. Which
So
can we actually? Sorry, I'm gonna like keep in Onyx Storm zone, but also talk about what we were just talking about because this was another book that was just one voice, which I was disappointed with. She did an amazing job, mind you. I thought that the voice actor that did that read through, that narrated Onyx Storm did a tremendous job of all the voices, but I would have loved a specific voice for Zayden. I'm sure they're going to release the dual one in the next
or
month or two
like the
so that
graphic
we spend more
audio
money.
where it's the full cast. Because there's a graphic audio of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, so I'm
Yeah,
sure they'll do a graphic audio
100%.
for
Oh, yeah,
Onyx
for
Storm.
sure, for sure.
There's a
But they
lot of
just,
money there.
yeah,
So
100%.
people will
But yeah,
buy
I just
both
want to pull that
versions,
out. Yeah.
I will. I have both versions of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, and I have the ebook and physical copies, so I
Oh,
have the book
so
in every
many.
form.
So many, exactly.
Yeah.
All right,
All right. So today
your turn.
we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive in our mini episode on Aaric because I don't know about you, but I am finding him to be a very interesting character. I don't know that I have any theories about him. I mostly just have questions, but I just kind of want to do like a deep dive. So tell me, Nicole, like what did you think of Aaric in Onyx Storm?
What did I think of Aaric? I love Aaric. I
Yeah.
fucking love Aaric. I want him to be the main MMC at this point. Like that is how much I love Aaric. I This was one of the challenges I had with Onyx Storm this time, and how I felt was I got the ick with Zayden because he was calling her love and things like that. I just got a bit, I don't know whether it's because of the 5-book series and keeping the new romance alive. Like I think I've said, in real life, I'm such a loyal person, but in the book world, I will change MMCs like my underwear. I will be like, oh, new romance, new slow burn. Yes, let's go that. Why have a duchess? Why be a duchess when I could be a queen? Like that's kind of where my mind goes. So but do I think Rebecca's going to do that? Probably not. But in my unhinged mind, I would love Aaric to have a very important role, a romantic role, preferably, whether it's with Violet or someone else, I don't really mind. But I think he's a really important character. And I think there's a lot of very interesting comparisons to Xaden that we have. He also has a blue dragon. He has an insane power with precog, like a proper precog. I
Yep.
just want to dig into that so much because we don't know a whole lot about it yet, but what we do know is that he seems to have the ability to know how to win a particular fight. Like so he obviously has the potential to look at different scenarios and go, right, that's the one when Violet's in this particular location, she's holding this particular weapon, she can actually kill the venom. So make sure you're right there. So he has the ability to do that, which is pretty insane.
Right.
And I think that we have a really strong feeling that, you know, he needs to rule Navarre. He needs
Yeah.
to. He is the best ruler of his. He's obviously only got Holden now, but Holden is literally useless and would be a terrible king. And we kind of see a potential future leader in Aaric, someone that actually
And
has the right intentions.
right, absolutely. There's a couple of things you said, like I want to go back to. I
Mhm.
think the comparisons to Xaden are really interesting. When you really start to lay it out, it is there's actually a lot more than you maybe think. So like yes, they've got the blue dragon. They are both um heirs to a throne,
Mhm.
right? I mean, Aaric is the second heir theoretically, but I think we all see a world where Aaric is probably going to become king.
Yeah.
They both have it, like, even though they both have an intrinsic power, but it's an intrinsic power that they use to like predict the future. Xaden uses his knowledge of intentions to know if it's safe to proceed, which is exactly what Aaric is doing with his power in like just a stronger way.
Mhm.
Um, they are both they both have a lot of like secrets and like secret identities in like both the space that they're in as well as their personal lives. Like I think I can see a world where we do pivot to Aaric as the love interest. Um because I feel like the pieces of like the foil are there. And maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I don't know, like
Am I the only person that, like, when there is the option of a prince versus a duke, I would always pick the prince? Like, I always want the best option. I'm always like, and I know that Xaden has kind of like, oh, he's like got a throne and he's like kind of kingly and stuff, but I kind of
yeah.
go, and I don't. Well, the other thing, which is we don't know how this is going to work with Xaden. And one of the things that Rebecca seemed to explore throughout this is that there doesn't seem to be a venom cure. There doesn't appear to be a cure in this. And Violet really didn't grow in this book. She was in complete denial the whole book. No, I'm going to find a
Yeah.
cure. This is not going to happen. It's all going to be okay, and it won't be okay. Like, and I hope actually that Rebecca sees that through, because I think that's a really cool thing to explore, to not just have, oh, here's the magical cure that fixes it all, but what do you do when someone actually makes a decision that's so bad that it can't be reversed and you now have to live with that, and what does that look like? I think
Yeah.
that's, while hard to possibly read, I think that's a really interesting story. I also just love that from the minute Arik came into it, like he, you know, the way he like led her through the archives and took her through, and like Xaden was losing his mind,
Xaden
but
was very
I don't
jealous of
know,
him
he's just quietly
in
been
that
in the
moment.
background, just stirring, just
Yeah.
quiet. I don't.
And I
I know
will
lots of people that love him, especially post
yeah,
Onyx
and I
Storm.
will so I was in when I was in Barcelona, I went to a bookstore and I found a special edition Spanish version of Iron Flame and Fourth Wing, and like the dust jacket on the back had like scenes. And in the Fourth Wing scene, it was Violet crossing the parapet. Makes sense. That's like
Mhm.
the most important scene of Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
And I found it really interesting that the Iron Flame scene that was depicted is Auric and Violet in the archives.
Oh,
And Xaden's just like standing in the doorway looking really pissed. And I remember thinking, like, that's the scene that they chose
that
for
of
Iron
the
Flame?
entire book of Iron Flame. That's
Yeah,
the scene. Like, I know this is the scene I've just spoken about, but it wasn't like a pivotal scene. It wasn't her being in. Oh, there's
right.
so many
And
other
that's why I'm
scenes
like,
we
I'm
could have
wondering, I'm
done.
like, did Rebecca Yarros like influence that? You know, like, is she saying like, no, pick this scene because this is really like this scene is actually more important than we realize or something? Like, I just you know, because like Xaden is like teeny tiny in the doorway, and it's like primarily Violet and Auric. Like you can, I have a reel on my Instagram page where you see this artwork, and like Violet and Auric are like leaning into each other, and then Xaden's over in the doorway. So I don't know. I found that really interesting. So I don't like. I don't necessarily like. I'm not quite like you, where I'm like, oh, if there's a prince, they have to go for them, unless of course. Well, actually, that's not true. I am kind of like that. Like,
It's in every Romantasy
and
DNA.
you
I
do the
swear to
king,
God, it's
like, it's
like
not romantic if we're not getting with the king. Yeah.
as soon as
Um,
you see that there is a prince or king available, you're like, oh, that's our
oh, they're
MMP
gonna get
right
with
there.
him.
Like, we're gonna
Yeah.
pivot here, guys.
Yeah, I do usually feel that way. And so I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's that far out of, like, the
Mhm.
possibility of what we've seen that, like, that will be a love interest. Now, whether or not that sticks, like, I could see that being, Zayden's gone, Violet's, like, really sad, Art kinda leans into that, and then, like, maybe that it's, like, a temporary thing, but maybe not, like, I don't know. I know there has also been, like, prior to Onyx Storm and some of the press that Rebecca Yarros did, a lot of people had the theory that Andarna and Aaric's dragon were going to be mates, and that was going to
Mm.
add an additional connection to Aaric. That was a very, very popular theory. Um, I don't know that Rebecca Yarros necessarily fully debunked it, but she was just like, when someone asked her about it, she was like, Andarna is a child. Like, I'm not talking about that. And so I
Yeah,
was like, okay, so maybe that's not like the thing, like
yeah,
Rebecca Yarros is reminding us that the Andarna is a child. She's not going to be mating this like
yeah.
really
And
old
certainly
dragon.
not anytime soon. Like, because what we
Right,
also learnt was like Riddick's dragon is like 22 and it's still a fairly immature dragon. Like,
right,
we're sort of seeing that dragons are a somewhat similar age to a human. So
right,
if you've got a 7-year-old dragon, it's not like it's going to be full adult in 3 years. It's going to be a
right.
10-year-old dragon. It's still sort of going to be an older child, but still a child. I don't know.
Yeah,
What would you say Andana is now? Like, she's sort of, how old is she exactly? She's sort of, we kind of know she potentially hatched when when she was hearing about. So she's maybe, is she?
5 or 6 maximum,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
they age a little faster into adulthood. I would say, obviously, they do
maybe a
somewhat
little. Yeah.
mature quite quickly, but we don't. It's one of those things we don't know a lot about with the dragon, so we don't sort
Hmm.
of have that definite
Hmm.
confirmation.
Yeah. I So I think that like there is a world where Ark is potentially a love interest. I also have been exploring the idea that Arik could be bad. So hear me out. I know
Okay,
you love
okay,
Arik.
yeah,
Hear me
no,
out, hear me
no,
out.
we can hear you out.
I find it incredibly odd that Arik is like around Dane, where Dane is like struggling to like learn a new language so that they can communicate with people on the Isles and learn all this culture, and he sees people like trying to read about the Isles and learn culture, and then it just like we get there and he's like, oh yeah, I know all these languages and I know all the culture, like, and he didn't tell anyone.
I love
I
that.
don't
I
know, I'm just
loved it
like,
so much. Because
why did he do that? Why didn't he just be like, oh hey Dane, I got you? Or, and I know that he didn't know that he was gonna go on Quest Squad. Like, because
mhm.
like Violet really did not want him on Quest Squad, but I don't see why he wouldn't be like, hey, I know this language, like let me help you out.
Yeah, yeah. Because Aric's
It just seems
badass,
weird to me.
like in his own unique way. Like he's never been this, like he's one of those, he doesn't sell himself. He doesn't go, oh, I can
No.
do all this stuff. Like Halden would bloody preach it from everywhere what he can do. Aaric is the opposite. Aaric doesn't talk about himself. He's just one of those people that's like, when like you go to like a club or something and someone just suddenly pulls all these dance moves and you're like, what,
Yeah,
you can dance? He'd
you
be
can
like,
dance
oh
or like
I just
karaoke or something and somebody
took
can sing
ballroom
really well.
lessons for 5 years and I'm just a master. Yeah, that's kind of what Aric's all about, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely, but I'm just like it's
You
interesting.
think
Is
it's a
all I'm
little bit
saying.
interesting.
It's a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
interesting. I also recently saw a theory on Instagram, and I cannot remember where I saw it. It was just when I was like scrolling, where somebody theorized that Auric is actually, because Auric is missing at the end of Onyx
yeah.
Storm. He is one of the people who is confirmed as missing, and I saw a theory that somebody thinks Auric is the one who stole the eggs,
Mhm.
and he stole the eggs to go and try and get help from the Isles, and that like the eggs missing is disconnected from whatever happened with Violet and Xaden and the
I
brother who
agree with
turned.
that. I agree with that.
Um yeah, and I think that I definitely agree with that as well.
Yeah.
Um Now, I don't think that necessarily means that Aaric is bad.
No, well, if anything, I feel like Aaric has precog and he knows what it will take to potentially win a war.
To
And if
win the
he
war.
knows that he'll be the one that would go, oh, we need to obtain these eggs in order to get their army, in order to get this win for this next battle that's going to take place. So he would be
That's
the
true.
one that would have that knowledge for sure. Yeah, which is very, very interesting. I wanted to jump
Mhm.
into something that I think is quite interesting about Aaric, which is, I guess, going back a little bit to Xaden, but about her parents saying what bad taste like Violet has in men. They kind of say, I
Yeah.
fear that she has very bad taste in men. And one of the things I found quite uncomfortable in Onyx Storm was the relationship between Xaden and Violet, and that it felt a little bit toxic, a little
It
bit
did.
like, because she was so, it was like having a partner with a drug addiction or a gambling addiction or something like that, and she was trying to sweep it under the rug and be like, no, 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 we're going to solve this, we're going to fix it. But you also saw someone that was in denial of the real situation of what was going on. And she had some of her best friends, Riddick, and that saying, hang on, you don't have anyone involved, anyone in the know about Xaden that actually knows, he's actually got your best interest at heart. And this was Riddick that said this to her, which I thought was really, like, really mature of Riddick to really see this side of him, and just added a whole other
Mhm.
like layer to how awesome Riddick was.
Yeah.
But I think it raised a really good point that Violet wasn't necessarily making great choices. And the whole way through, everyone's like, Violet has terrible taste in men. Violet's like, choosing Xaden was a terrible idea. They're not there saying, hey, he's a duke. Awesome. Well done, Violet. Great choice. They're
Yeah,
all
right?
like, nah, terrible choice. So it's like, what do they know that we don't? Because we've all thought Xaden's really awesome, but is there more to it? Is there, and would, again, I'm just going crazy on this theory, but would she finally start thinking about exploring a relationship that's actually a good one, that's
Yeah.
actually, yeah, or are we just going to see Xaden get healed and then we realize that he is the best choice and
He is the best one.
we
Yeah.
get the
Yeah,
happy
I mean,
ending?
I can see it going in either direction and me
Yeah,
being happy either way. Um, because I am wondering if Xaden can really be redeemed. That's kind of where I'm personally at with
yeah.
him.
Well, I think it was very interesting that Rebecca had sort of a line when they were going through the aisles about trying to find this cure. And she kind of goes on this little tangent where she's like, maybe we'll just find that we just need to go under the North Moon on the 30th day. We need this particular feather from the Phoenix of blah, blah, blah. Just they need to find that random cure that some little old witch lady has off in the mountains. And so she kind of goes, I think by doing that, she said, we're not going to find some random cure that's going to fix this. This is a real problem that's not actually going to be solved, just like real life. It's going to be interesting whether Rebecca really explores what would happen in real life, or if she's going to turn it magical and make
Yeah.
make Violet a god or something like that has the ability to change everything that's happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure that I think I don't after Onyx Storm, I think that some of the I actually am thinking that this series is not quite epic fantasy. It's more like what I would consider low fantasy. And so I
Yeah,
think a lot of the theories of Violet's going to become a god, I'm feeling like that those theories are maybe a little too far fetched. Like the magic doesn't expand that far in this
yeah.
world. Um it, it
I
maybe
agree with
it
you.
should
I
change.
think Rebecca has some magic, but she likes to keep some of the rules of reality in
Yeah.
there. Like she
Yeah.
wants it to still have this realism to it, and that people are not they're still killable. They're not
Mhm.
indestructible. That
Mhm.
yeah, she likes flawed characters, which I really
Yeah.
love in a story, and I think that that's a really good thing to have.
Yeah. And, the gods are gonna be important because it is still a fantasy novel, but, the idea that, Violet's gonna transcend to a god, this is not Jennifer Armentrout, I just
Mm,
don't see that I don't see it being that kind of magic
yeah,
system,
yeah,
personally, as of right now. Maybe the 4th book comes out and things totally change, but just after seeing Onyx Storm, the magic is not super evolving, and so I think that this is more of a low fantasy
yeah,
type of
yeah,
book.
yeah. No, I know
Um,
what you're saying, and I sort of, yeah, somewhat agree with that as well. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Um,
So There's another thing about Aaric that I had this thought last night as I was preparing for this episode. And
Mhm.
I was literally, as I am in the bathtub. I love a bath. I love to submerge in water.
Love it.
And I literally like gasped aloud as I thought this. So we now know that there's always balance between signets with the dragon riders and the venom. True precognition feels like a very powerful signet to me
Mhm.
that would potentially need to have a counter. The
Yep.
question is, have we already met the counter? Is Melgren the counter? Is Melgren actually Venin? And so then Aaric is being born to be the counter to Melgren, who
Yeah.
is actually a Venin.
Yeah.
I think that that's likely, or, and this goes back to my like, is, what is the role of Aaric? Are those two things reversed? Is Aaric going to become Venin to be the Venin counter to Melgren? I don't know. I think it's more likely that Melgren is a Venin. I think that's been foreshadowed.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
it's just really interesting. Or is
Yeah.
there some other like are those
There
two
is.
powers not connected? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely think, I mean, and we've already had it outlined that like where Melgren isn't a full-blown precog, Aaric actually is. I guess that's
Yeah.
the only thing you might say that's a difference is where Melgren maybe didn't get it in its full potency like Aaric does. Aaric has it properly. He has proper precog. So he's gotten a better version of it compared to Melgren. I definitely think that's a really good point. We know that we've already been confirmed by Jack Barlow that if there was a like Melvin level, you know, venom, we wouldn't even know because they're so powerful. They can obviously make themselves look different, act different, so you wouldn't even know. And we know that the leadership in Basgiath is very, very flawed. And I think we're going to find out so much more about Violet's mum and how I actually think she was so good. And I think so many of the things she was doing, I think she was putting herself in a lot of danger
Yeah.
to protect her children. I
Yeah.
think that she kept herself up there in power because she was protecting her children. I think we're going to find out that she was one of the only good people up there in leadership, that
And
she
trying
may
to
have
do the right
been
thing.
all but surrounded in venom, just keeping that skerrick of goodness in that
Yeah.
space because she was a
Mhm.
tough lady. And Violet doesn't like to admit it, but Violet is so similar to her mum, so
She is.
insanely similar to her mum. She doesn't want to admit it, but
Yeah.
she is nearly a carbon copy.
Agree 100%. Um, I have one more thought on Aaric, and then maybe we can wrap this up. When we first meet Aaric, we find out that he has run away because he knows about the venom
Mm-hmm.
and knows like what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like he knows more than he has let on, just like he knew a lot more about like the Isles. I mean, he is theoretically in the position to know as much as the dragons potentially. He knows a lot because he's sitting with the king. So I think that Aaric knows even more about the venom than we
Then
know,
we
like
know.
potentially like dragon level knowledge. And he has not shared that yet for whatever reason. And that's going to come in with his like precog. Like he's going to know when to share the right information when. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, like he's definitely got so much more knowledge. Like he's got the royal family knowledge, like the information that they don't tell
yeah,
99% of the public. He knows that information. So he
yeah,
has the most, if anything has been saved, I mean, obviously we know that there was that royal vault in the archives that had all the specific, like they had kept it, it was just in the royal archives.
yeah.
So he potentially has learned so much more than what is actually available. And we know from his ability to speak all the different languages and things like that, he's had a huge amount of education and training.
Huge
And
amount of
unlike
education.
Holden, who was busy sleeping with his, lecturers and things like that, like Aaric actually learned, he absorbed and he learned, and he actually wanted to do good in the world and wanted to have an impact and make a difference. So I think that he does hold a lot of knowledge. I don't know if it'd be quite dragon level. I think it'd be as much as they potentially know in Basgiath, but I think there's still a lot of knowledge that I don't know. Has it been lost? Has it even from the royal perspective been lost compared to what the dragons know or what they know, what the venom know?
Yeah, I just I think there's going to be, I really, really hope that in the next book it becomes multi POV. I
Yeah,
hope that like
I
what
hope
we
so.
were seeing in the end with all the different POV switches is her kind of telling us that it's going to be multi POV, because I'm
Yeah.
so ready to get out of Violet's head.
Oh, 100%. We're only getting a piece of the pie, and I want the whole pie. I
I
need to
want the
know
whole thing.
everything that's
Yeah.
going on. I was just
Hmm.
thinking about something that's always sat with me was Theophany and her kind of all the different little bits and pieces that Theophany gave us. She gave us so many interesting little
Hmm.
pieces that were really insightful in this book. And she spoke about Venom lying. So really at the end of the day, one thing that Venom do a lot of is they lie. And so you don't know how much of what they're telling you is true versus
Yeah.
not true, which makes it really challenging because some of what they've come across with has been really, really interesting. But I'm very fascinated to know what they know. I kind of hope, and I don't know whether that will be explored now that Zayden's full blown Venom. I mean, my theory had always been that once they became Venom, they would stop having any care for anything. They would just be focused on power and evilness. And I was expecting Zayden to get very, very dark and evil. Not evil, but really dark and gritty in this book and
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
selfish. Like he'd lost some of his humanity. I was really expecting him to go on that kind of journey, but he didn't. He ended up becoming a whole cinnamon roll, and he was just like holding on to that last little bit of like love and care and that little piece of himself that he was like, this is still me. And
Yeah.
yeah, which kind of wasn't what I was expecting was going to be Zayden's Venom journey, because I thought, particularly having seen Jack and things like that, that they
Right.
go evil pretty quickly. But that's something we don't know yet, is how much of your own personality stays with you when you become Venom. Because so far what we've generally seen is they turn pretty evil pretty quickly. Like anyone that we've kind of seen that's potentially been Venom. Um, but Zayden seemed to hold a lot of himself still. He said he was different, but he still seemed to be majority Zayden.
Right. And even when he has now gone full blown Venom, right? He at the end of the book and he has, the veins and everything, he still cares enough about Violet and his people to go off and marry her, So if
Yeah,
he
and say, don't
immediately
come looking
loses
for
his whole
me.
self, he doesn't care anymore, right? Like to do that. And he clearly does. So I think
Yeah.
he's still going to be Zayden. I really
Yeah,
do.
well, and what does that mean? Like that
I
makes me so
know.
confused because I'm like, I thought Venom turned evil, but they're now not evil. Like, so they're actually still got a big part of their personality there. Like, what does Venom do to you? And then does this then bring us back to this theory that are Venom all bad? Are they actually all bad? They're just normal old riders and flyers that have an addiction to the power, and will probably let that addiction control them to some point, and they can obviously remove their ability to feel and things like that, but they still seem to be able to hold a sense of their soul and their humanity, or at least Zayden has managed to do that at this point in time. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen. But that was definitely a part of the ending that was very, very surprising to me, was going, he is not selfish. He's not there just going, right, stuff you all, I'm off to go absorb power and be an evil, Melgren or whatever. No, Maven.
Maven. Yeah.
Melgren, Maven. There's lots of M's, god damn it.
There are a lot of M's. Yeah. And then you have
Uh,
Malik.
oh my gosh. Oh my god. The names we had to try and remember in this book. It was hard
It's
work.
a lot.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see where this is gonna go from here. But anyway, I've
Yeah.
completely sidetracked from Aaric, but it will
That's
be
okay. Any
very
other last thoughts on Auric before we wrap up this mini episode?
I just love him. I just want to have 5 green-eyed babies with him. That's like that's my final thoughts. I just want more Aaric. I hope we get his POV. I want to know
Yeah.
so much more about his precog. I think he's a huge part of this story, and I
I do.
hope that in the next book it's really going to ramp up. It's going to be very interesting to find out what happens, what the dynamic's going to be like with Zayden out of the picture, and
Yeah.
whether Pilot's going to continue to be on a journey to find Zayden and cure Zayden. If we're going to go, surely we can't have a whole nother book like that, because we've just had that. We've done the book of her going off to
Yeah.
try and
We
find a
can't
cure.
it can't be that again.
It would be a bit dull if we just went into the next book and it was the same thing all over again. It would have to be something different
Yeah.
that's going to happen in the next book. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to kind of see where we go. But look, I love him, and I do believe he's good. My theory is that he's good, and
Yeah.
I
I
think
don't
it's
think
going to
I
be great.
actually believe he's bad. I just love the
The
drama
stir,
of it all. I like to consider like, if
hundred
you pressed
percent.
me, I would be like, "I know, I think he's good." But I just,
Yeah, yeah, no,
there's some things.
we love a good
So,
theory.
mhm. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. Like we said at the top, let us know if you like these new shorter episodes, if you want us to go back to 2-hour episodes. Let us know your thoughts on Aaric. Do you love him? Do you want him as the love interest, or are you like Team Zayden all the time? And as always, make sure to give us a follow on Instagram and review and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to it. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.